Good afternoon. Today is the 20th of February and it's time for yet another not particularly interesting, very vague and probably quite boring vlog. It's particularly boring today because I'm sat in a traffic jam ahead of a level crossing waiting for a train to go past. So, whilst we have the time, I thought we'd collect our thoughts about what's happened this week. And it's not a particularly interesting subject, but the very vague vlog that I recorded a few weeks ago about the Volkswagen Passat being used in the Under Armour advert in London in January, it went live yesterday at the time of recording. And I think a few people just had some questions about what's going to happen to that car quite soon. So the idea of buying that car wasn't really necessarily to keep it permanently or anything like that. It was bought to fill a very specific need, in that my friend who had an old Saab needed something to actually use to tide him over until he collected his new car, which was supposed to be at some point this month. And actually it still might be. I mean, those of you who are on the Seat Toledo and Rover 45 V6 membership tiers will see this video around the time that it's recorded. Those of you who aren't and don't feel that you have to contribute in any way, the channel memberships or anything like that, it's really only the people who feel that they want to do it. I don't want anybody to feel any sort of compulsion in that way. But those of you who just see it normally, you see this a few weeks after it's recorded, and the car will probably be gone actually by now, if you're seeing this at a normal time, because my friend's told me that his new car, he's I think getting it on Motability or something like that, due to his lady wife's illness, which is one of the reasons he needed the car anyway. And he's picking it up really soon. He's just waiting for an actual date at some point, but it's going to be ready and all the paperwork's been done. So after that, and he doesn't need the Passat anymore, what are we going to do with it? So there are some issues with the car. I think we've gone into that in the last video, but it's actually really not that bad. For a car from 2003, it's pretty good. It's only done 79,000 miles, despite the fact that he and I have been using it a little bit since November when I got it. The only real things to say about it are the rear offside door that has sort of issues. Like sometimes it opens, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't lock, sometimes it does. It's apparently a really common problem on B5 Passats, both in the videos that I've done on the car, and also when Mr. Richardson drove it earlier this month for his channel. People were saying that, yeah, the issue kind of is with sometimes with the rear doors, like they sometimes lock, sometimes they don't, and that's one of the issues, and just the way that it is. I don't really want to put any more money into the car. We've already had full service done it, including spark plugs and also an MOT, and because it really just had to tide my friend over, it never was a permanent thing, then I just don't want to put any more money into it. But the airbag light problem apparently can be solved by doing a battery reset on the car with better equipment than I actually have myself. I do have a little code scanner thing, but we can't use that to do the reset. And the reason we haven't actually tried to do that is because if you do a battery reset, you need the radio code to reinstate the radio, and I need a radio, and so does my friend who's been using it. So we just decided to live with that airbag light sort of being on sort of semi-permanently, really. I'm sure if it goes on to somebody else, then they can do that if they want. I mean, we'll have to anyway for the MOT when that comes round, which is early February 2025. But last month I met someone, a friend of my lady wife, who has a really old car that has far worse issues than a Passat does. I mean, having done 250 miles in that car earlier this month, over the course of a couple of days, it's actually fine. Clutch is good, engine's good, engine pulls really strongly, there's virtually no emissions from it apparently. It's very comfortable on long journeys, there's lots of space in it. In comparison with this Peugeot that this lady has, it's great. Peugeot's got a terrible oil leak from the I think it's one of the main seals of it. It's quite common with those old cars, and also the handbrake doesn't work, and she's just looking for something to kind of transport her family around in before she decides what to do. She was hoping the Peugeot would last a bit longer than it has, and essentially I've just sort of told her that it's scrap, which it is. Really, it is just scrap. There's a possibility if she's amenable to it, but we might see that Peugeot on the channel on No Budget Reviews before it gets sent to the big scrapyard in the sky, because the particular type it is really not one of my favourite cars. They're not very good, those particularly, but looks like we're going to have this sort of arrangement where, rather like my friend who's had it, she will borrow it, because after all that's what it's there for, and she will decide whether she wants to keep the car, or if she wants to just give it back, and then I will probably just trade it on after that. I don't necessarily want to sell it privately because of a couple of issues that it's got, that I just don't want any comeback about that. Whereas if the trader who I discussed passing it on to before, he's aware of what all the issues are anyway, and actually the door was better than it was when we discussed it, so that's probably what will happen. She'll either take it as it is and use it for as long as she likes, or we'll just trade it on, because I just don't really want any hassle in that way with it, and buy something else. As I speak to you, we've just completed the 200th episode of No Budget Reviews, and the car that I did for episode I actually really enjoyed. It was an awful lot of fun. I know I'm really sad actually when you find out what car it was that I enjoyed so much. I don't think particularly a lot of you will be very excited about it at all, but I was, and it was particularly exciting. So there we go. So yeah, the Passat was never really meant to be around for very long anyway, and either way I don't think it will be. So by sort of start of April I think it will be gone. Might have a few more journeys in it before then possibly, but we've got other cars to use, so it's not really urgent to use that one as opposed to the others we've got, and then we can think about getting something else for all of you to enjoy, and most of all for my lady wife and I to enjoy. So that's it. Another very vague, not particularly interesting, and probably quite boring vlog. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again very soon for more incoherent rambling.